Another day, another press briefing, and boy, do I have a recap for you. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Lysandra. I watch the press briefing so you don't have to. And today I'm going to start at the end, because at the end she talks about the importance of making sure that we keep child predators behind bars.
To ensure that ICE is removing child predators. I just read you a list of a handful of the hundreds of thousands of child predators that this administration is removing off of the streets of Los Angeles and every other community across this country.
Except for the one at the White House.
Because we want to ensure this is a country where American school children can be safe, where they can prosper, and where they are not threatened by violent criminals, whether they are illegal or whether they are American citizen homegrown criminals, as this president calls them.
Girl, I get it. I stutter when I lie too. But let's keep going. A lot of the questions at the top of the briefing were about the meeting with Putin on Friday. Most of the answers centered around the fact that his strong preference is peace, that this is a bilateral meeting. He's going just to listen. And people were like, well, he said he was going to go for a peace solution. She's like, well, listen, we would love a peace solution. He's the peace president. And he listed, then she went off and listed all these things, all of these peace deals signed, wages have grown, inflation remains low and stable, ignore the panicans, blah, 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 all these things, but basically that they're open to peace and a peace treaty, but they have to eventually talk to Zelensky. She went on to list a bunch of the crime emergencies that they solved last night, including 23 arrests that included homicide, lewd acts, stalking, DUI, bench warrants, 6 illegal hand pew-pews, that they're going to relentlessly pursue criminals, that the soft Democrats have been way too easy on criminals, and now this is going to be the safest and most beautiful city, just as he promised on the campaign trail, and he's shattering records at the border. 90% low from who? Joe Biden. You knew it. She stuttered a lot today, to be honest with you. That was my favorite part. The guy in the new media seat was a podcast host of something, but as always, it is a softball question to begin the night. He talked about how he went through a lot of crime. He's been carjacked. He had arson committed in his house, and that he had his infant child in there, which is terrible. But then it was a softball question, so then she could talk about all of the crime that's happened in D.C. and that the city is unsafe and that this should be a win for everybody. But everybody villainizes anything that Trump says. They asked why Zelensky wasn't going to be at the meeting, and they said, well, it was President Putin that asked Trump to meet at his request, so he wants to have a better understanding of what's up. They asked about Ghislaine Maxwell's grand jury records not being released, and they were like, well, we want them to be released. We want transparency, but if we're going to refer you to the DOJ. The Putin thing's going to be a listening exercise. They're not revealing anything. Someone asked if he slipped up by saying he was going to Russia, and she was like, well, he might in the future. They talked about Israel. They were like, this is an inherited conflict, and it's difficult, and it's pretty sensitive, so we're not going to get ahead of the president and say anything. Somebody asked about the people experiencing homelessness and what will happen with them with this new enforcement. They said the homeless will be sent to programs and shelters, and if they refuse that these are already things that are in place that haven't been enforced, that under the Democrats, the homeless have been allowed to just run rampant in the D.C. area. And if they refuse all of these programs, these rehabilitation things, then they will be sent to jail. Or whatever, and that the national park people have been cleaning up, and there's only 2 encampments left, that juvenile delinquency, a cashless bail has been a wreck to DC. We encourage Democrats to work with the Trump administration on this, and maybe then they would see an improvement in their approval rates, which are a historic low. One reporter brought up the fact that the small businesses are concerned that they have not had to raise their prices yet, but they're going to because of the tariffs, because they're actually the ones eating the cost. And she was like, small businesses don't have a better friend than President Donald J. Trump. You literally have never had a president that understands businesses as much as President Trump does, but you're never going to guess this. She said that the previous administration had no business running a country because they don't understand business, and that we are trending in the right direction, and all the prices in every category have fallen. And so you're getting your statistics from the wrong person. And actually, all business owners are saying that everything is really great. So then that same person asked, if the jobs data is not reliable, then is the inflation data reliable? And she was like, basically, no. The numbers that are good are right. They asked about the UCLA Gavin Newsom thing, and she said, bring it on, Gavin. One reporter asked about the using DC as a model for other cities, and she was like, well, how can he legally do that, because he only has the Home Rule Act for DC. And she was like, well, Caroline was like, well, we'll just have to see. We're just going to, hopefully other people will follow because they're going to see how good it is. And then Caitlin, girl got to ask a question. She asked about the chain of command of MPD, the Metropolitan Police Department. And Caroline said, well, it's the president, the attorney general, then someone else, and then MPD. And that basically it. And so Caitlin was like, okay, so the president's in charge. And he's like, no, I told you. Then she asked if Trump is going to meet with Putin by himself. And she's like, yeah, he is. And then she stumbled over saying Metropolitan, which was really fun. Again, that's my favorite part of today. And somebody asked if we're going to get to talk to the physician about President Trump's health, since they were complaining about Biden not being transparent. And she was like, well, that's a very good question. And I will see what we can do for you. Oh, and the job reports guy that's going to be the head of the BLS, guess who he works for? What? You guessed it, the Heritage Foundation. What? That's crazy. And then when the guy asked a question about the child predators, of course, she stormed off. That's all we have for today. See you tomorrow.